Welcome, dear students, for the third session of our grade 10 English literature class of St. Peter's College, Colombo, Negombo branch. Okay, we learned two poems in our previous sessions, and in this session, we are going to learn another new poem which is there for our O-level syllabus. And the poem is Big Bench 1983 by Yasmin Gulratna. You can see here Big Bench 1983 by Yasmin Gulratna. Okay, as I have already told you, it's always important to know something about the writer, the poet. Yasmin Gulratna is a Sri Lankan poet and she is at the moment in Australia and she teaches there in Australian universities and she has written novels, poetry, short stories and even she has critically analyzed and there are a lot of her critical analysis, critical writings regarding all this literary work. And to speak about Big Match, what is a Big Match? Big Match has two meanings, but the general meaning or the very common meaning is an encounter between two schools in Sri Lanka. Also, it is there in many other countries also. Two schools meeting together in cricket matches, maybe sometimes in rugby matches also, but here it's cricket matches. We know that there are big matches in schools every year. It's very popular in our country. There are a lot of schools like that who play cricket matches like this for so many years. They have been playing these matches continuously. And for example, we can take Royal College and St. Thomas's College, then Anand and Anand. What are the other schools? Then Mahanama and D.S. Senanayaka, then Trinity College and St. Anthony's. Like that, St. Peter's College and St. Joseph's College, these all schools have been playing cricket matches every year, and uh, this is how Yasmin Gulratna has taken the title for her poem. Now, sometimes we know in our country when these when these students, cricketers, they play matches, there are a lot of organization going on in this and they publish a lot and there are a lot of parades going on before these big matches. It's a huge encounter and it's a very big event in the annual school calendar. You know it, right? So it's the old boys and family members and the family members of the children of the school are the ones who are mostly interested in these matches and they do everything possible to get their school team win the match. So there is a lot of excitement and it's very much interesting. So what happens in these matches is when they find that they are going to lose or when their school team is going to lose, like they feel that they can't bear this. And what happens is they try to blame the umpires or they try to fight with the opponents or they sometimes set fire in the pavilions and they break chairs and do all sorts of things. And what finally happened is sometimes in these matches the police will have to intervene to stop all these unwanted things. And I can remember in 2017 or 2018, Mahanayaka, there was some Buddhist monks, they requested the then president to stop these big matches because these people or the cricketers who are playing in these school teams, they find they are unable to bear the defeat. they are unable to accept defeat. So what happened is they go for fights. So because of that, Buddhist monks once wanted, or they requested the president to stop these big measures once, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So that is the usual meaning of big match. And on the other side, it can mean a big fire. A big fire which is created from a match. So it's a big match which creates, or which erupts a big match or big fire, right? So that's the meaning, right? So we have to now go line by line here to find as to what happens during a big match, right? So it's a long poem, but in this big match we are speaking about 1983 insurrection. It occurred in, or it started in 1983 July 23rd. Right, we call it Black July. So in 1983 July 23rd, this happened, but in July somewhere, right? Should be July 22nd, like now. When our forces in Jaffna, when they were patrolling at night, 13 Sinhala soldiers were killed by the Tamil terrorists, and that is said to be the reason for the eruption of Tamil Sinhala communal violence in 1983, July 23rd. So the communal riots which started on July 23rd, it carried on, it went on for 5 days, like July 23, 24, 25, 26 and 27. So for 5 days the insurrection or the insurgency went on, and this is what is explained in this poem. So in this poem, Yasmin Gururatna describes as to what sort of violence was there, and what sort of suffering the Tamil minority group had to face because of this insurrection which occurred for 5 days. So that is what she is describing here in this poem. Okay, one more thing, and I think this poem will not be for you in this, you won't get anything mostly from this poem for your O level, because it refreshes the Tamil minority group's mind, especially the youth will arise, or their feelings and emotions will be aroused when they read this poem, because it describes as to what sort of agony and pain that they had to go through because of inhuman, brutal violence carried on by the majority Sinhala mode. Okay, but since we have this in our syllabus, we have to learn about it. It's a free verse. It's a free verse, and it's quite interesting, but still, I should say that you won't hardly get anything from this one for O level, because all these 4 years, from 2016 to 2009, we did not get anything from this poem. But my personal view, this is a mistake to have been here in this syllabus. The ones who inserted it, I don't know with what intention they have done it. Still, I think that this is a wrong inclusion, so you won't get anything from this one for level, but still, let's do it. And this is how it goes. in the first stanza we find the writer says, glimpsing the headlines in the newspapers, tourists couple for cover, cancel their options on rooms with views of temple and the holy mountain. Flashpoint in paradise, racial pot boils over. That is how it starts. So, glimpsing means looking at the headlines. Now, when 13 Sinhala soldiers who were patrolling at night were killed by a sudden ambush by Tamil terrorists, it became the hot news or the headline news on all the national newspapers the next day morning, that is 23rd morning. So when people read this, when people who have Sinhala blood, or we sometimes you see in three-wheelers Sinhala, right? So people who had this blood, they could not bear this up, they could not control themselves, they didn't tolerate this situation, and they started destroying everything that belonged to the Tamils. They destroyed the Tamils themselves, right? All sorts of things. They set fire on all the properties, and even nobody could stay or nobody could live if they were found to be Tamils. As a child, I have experienced, I had heard that people were running here and there. I could remember how the buildings were on fire, all sorts of things. Right. So, glimpse in the headlines in newspapers, tourists who came to visit Sri Lanka, different places, they scuttle for cover, means they cancel their tour plans and they go to safer places. Right. Sometimes they quickly rearranged their tickets and went back to their countries. That's what happened. That is what the writer describes here. They were in their rooms and they were replanning their schedules, and they quickly made their plans to get back to their countries. But these people, they came to visit places like the Holy Mountain, which means Sripada, and also they wanted to go to Dalda Maligaon to visit those places, but they cancelled these places because of this sudden eruption of uncontrollable violence. And even the gone away boy who had hoped to find lost roots, lost lovers, lost talent even, out among the palms, makes timely return, giving thanks that Toronto is quite romantic enough for his purpose. Now, those expatriates, now, who are expatriates? Expatriates mean the Sri Lankans who are working abroad. They stay here, they have settled down there, but for some vacation they come here to visit their places, visit different places in their motherland or Sri Lanka. They are called expatriates. They also cancel everything, cancel their plans, and they want to get back to the places or the countries from which they came. Right. Then they wanted actually to go to, sometimes these expatriates are the Tamils from Jaffna areas. So they wanted to visit their lovers, or they wanted to go to their places, those who wanted to find jobs, they cancelled everything and thought that it's safer for them to be in some foreign country. So they went to those countries. That is what is meant in that first stanza. In the second stanza, the writer says, powerless this time to shelter or share. When you say shelter or share, it's an alliteration. Shelter or share. We strive to be objective. Try to trace the match that lit this sacrificial fire. Let's try to get the meaning of that part. Powerless this time, and she speaks in plural form. She says we. Who are these we? We means the intelligentsia, intelligentsia or educated people, and also this writer Yasmin Duratna, she also is included there, and they all try to find out as to what is the reason for the eruption of this sacrificial fire, how this Black July commenced. Then finally, she writes this way. The steps by which we reach this ravaged place. The ravaged place means this Black July or the 1983 July insurgency, where the Sinhala mob started destroying and devastating everything that belonged to the Tamils. So these people, they try to come gradually, step by step. Right. What is the reason? How did this happen at once? Did this start at once? Is it something which occurred suddenly? Or is there a root? Or is there an origin for all this? This is what is explained here. We talk of 48 and 56, of freedom and the treacherous politics of language. So it should be like this. We talk of 48 of freedom, then 56, the treacherous politics of language. So you know that we all received independence from the British rule, British reign in 1948, February 4th. So, Yasmin Duratna speaks from there. She tried to refresh our memories of our independence. So after that, there were no problems between the Tamils and the Sinhalese. But in 1956, Mr. S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike, a former Prime Minister, who was with Mr. D. Senanayake, we call him the father of nation. In 1948, when we were fighting in our freedom struggle, he was with Mr. D. Senanayake. He wanted to start a different party. He started the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, and he came for the competition in 1956 election as a different party, and his motto was Sinhala only, or the Sinhala is the main language. So that is how he started. So when the majority Sinhalese from south, let's say up to Vavuniya or up to Anuradhapura, all those people, they were very happy about this motto, Sinhala only, or the Sinhala national language. So they all voted. He became the Prime Minister very easily. But what happened was, after that, the Tamils, they were very sad about the situation. They all had to know this national language or Sinhala to get everything done officially in different offices in Jaffna. So they felt it's very unfair. They felt very sad about this new change. So after that, they were not in good books with the majority Sinhalese. So what happened after that? So Yasmin Duratna calls that treacherous politics, because it's opportunistic politics by the leader, so-called leader, that led to this, to the inception of this communal violence or communal issue, right? So see, the first spark of this hate fanned into flame in 1958. So this 1956 issue is the place where it originated, started. It is the place where we see the first spark of fire, and it was fanned into flames. So you know, when you put a fan for some firewood which is getting burnt, the fire will increase. There will be more fire. So in 1958, it was fanned into flames because in 1958 there was the first real communal riot took place between the Sinhalese and the Tamils because of some emergency law. Emergency law is the case. Then, yet no comfort in our need solution, right? This intelligentsia or the educated ones, they try to solve this problem, find a solution for this issue, right? They try to find or bring an amicable settlement to this communal violence, communal what do you call it, communal problem, but they were unable to solve this problem. Then no calm abstraction and no absolution. That means they say there were a lot of ideas, they had a lot of conditions. The Sinhala leaders and the Tamil leaders, they had a lot of ideas, exposed ideas put forward, but their demands were too high. They could not find absolution, or they could not come to peaceful and fair settlement. The game is in the other's hand in any case. So the game, she calls it the game. Most of the time, the ruling party or the majority party had the best of the advantages. They did not agree with the minorities, and so they were at an advantage. But what happened was they were unable to find a solution. So the game is in the other's hand also means because of that the majority mob had the control of the situation. These fires, Ring Factory and Hovel. So Hovel means a poor dwelling place of some poor Tamil people. So these houses, the factories as well as the poor huts or the cottages, they were all destroyed by the Sinhala mob who were antagonized or annoyed by the action that happened on the 22nd July night. That is that part, and we can carry on. These fire, Ring Factory and Hovel and Big Match fever flaring high and fast. So because of this Big Match fever, right, you know, the Big Match is a fever between the smaller communities of two schools. It's something very much interesting, as I told you earlier. But now, what happens here? So the Big Match fire between the majority race and the minority race is going on. It's flying high. The fire is in its highest point. It is in an unabateable or unstoppable position. Has both sides in its grip and promises. Now, both sides have their promises, and the minority leaders say, we want these things. If you want us to come for a settlement, the majorities had their views and opinions. Because of that, there was a clash. And here, Yasmin Gurratne is comparing these two lines, that is, has both sides in its grip and promises this year's scores than any at the Oval. Oval is a cricket ground in England. So when you play cricket matches in this ground, you get marks, you get you score, and your scores can be 300, 400 or 500. So Yasmin Gurratne is comparing here, and she says these people who have their demands and conditions are more than the scores that you can get in a cricket match. So that is the kind of comparison, and it's an irony between death which occurred because of this insurgency, and also between the excitement that cricket match is bringing to people. So that comparison is there. So dizzy scores means dizzy means it's something where you can faint, right? It's a word which means fainting, or it's too high. So the demands, she means that the demands of the people were too high. Because of that, they were unable to come to a settlement. In a tall house, now in this stanza, we are told something else. There's a Tamil educated middle-aged gentleman. He is in a tall house. Tall house means that he is safe. He is safe. And also it means that the man is educated and well-to-do. He's okay, he's rich. He has books and pictures, which means he has a library. Calm hands, quick clamoring telephone. He hears the telephone is ringing, but he's quiet. He's not answering that because he's scared. He's scared. It's just, and when he answers finally, and he finds out that it's one of his single friends, maybe who is working in his office, and he says he's speaking with the single gentleman who is on the other side. This single gentleman and Tamil man, they are friends, and he says, the Tamil man says, it's a strange life we are leading here just now, not a dull moment. It's an irony again, right? They can't say it's dull, right? But this is night and they are living with fear. They are expecting death anytime. They are expecting death anytime, so they are living in fear. But he says, not a dull moment, it's not dull, it's very interesting, right? Lot of actions taking place like. Then, no one can complain of boredom, that's for sure. The inmates of the house, they are not complaining to the father or to this middle-aged Tamil gentleman that they are feeling boring. They are not complaining. They all are aware of the situation outside their home. That is the single mob destroying everything that belongs to the Tamils. More than everything, the mob is taking Tamil lives. So that's a kind of horrifying massacre or genocide, killing the race like. So that is the situation. Then it continues to say, he says, up all night. These people, they are up all night. They are not sleeping because they are scared, keeping watch. And then as curfew ends and your brave lads, when the curfew ends, we know about the curfew these days because of Corona. We are aware of curfews. So when the curfew ends in the morning, your brave lads, brave single lay boys or the mob, they come out, they dash out from their places and they want to start another day of fun. That means they are going to destroy again this, go from house to house, shop to shop, building to building and see whether there are Tamils. If Tamils are found, that is the fate of the Tamil. That means the Tamil will have to die or face severe injuries and bleeding. So that is why, that is what Yasmin Guru calls here fun and games and general jollity. So this is the general jollity of the Sinhala mob during that time. I sent Padmini and the girls to a neighbor's house. So this gentleman is sending his family members to a neighbor's house. The neighbor is a Sinhala person. He is sending there. The Sinhala person also knows that this gentleman, he has no hand with terrorism. So he helps. They are known to each other for a long time. So he helps. He keeps this man's family members in his house for greater protection. Then there's a dialogue. So this is a dialogue. There is a dialogue within this poem. So the man says, "Who? Me? Oh, I am doing fine. I always was a drinking man, you know, and nowadays I am stepping up my intake quite a bit. So this Tamil gentleman, he is consuming some liquor, but these days he is taking more because he wants to face this situation bravely. He has no guts, no strength to face this situation or to feel the pain that he is going to get when the singer mob or the majority people injure his body. So he can't bear this physical pain. So to tolerate this situation or to face this situation, he is taking more liquor. That is what he's telling his singer friend over the phone on the other side. The general idea being that when those torches come, they had the torches, fire torches, right? When they come within 50 feet away from his home, the man says, it is him who is going to die first and not his books. He won't allow his books to be on fire first. Before that, he says that he is going to die because he does not want to see his book on fire before his own eyes. Right. Then next answer, there's a pause. Then steady and every bit as clear as though we were neighbors, still as we had been in 58. Now, he thinks for a while and again he speaks. He reflects on the past unity that the Sinhalese and the Tamils had. He says, we were neighbors until 1958. Thanks, by the way, for ringing. Thank you very much, my dear friend, for calling me. But it's good to know still some lines haven't yet been cut. So what the Sinhala mob during that time did was they found election lists. From that, from the addresses, they found the people and the roads where the Tamils lived. They went to those houses and killed those Tamils, cut into pieces and maybe beheading or setting on fire, pouring petrol and setting fire, all sorts of things. And before going there, sometimes if there is telephone connection, they disconnected it and after that only they went to the house. So they disconnected so that these Tamil people will not get a chance to have any connection with the outsiders. So next answer, we come to the last answer. Out of Palmyra fences of Jaffna bristle 100 guns. That is what I told you earlier. That is on 22nd July 1983. 13 Sinhala soldiers were killed by Tamil terrorists, and this is what she is referring here, right? So when those soldiers were killed, bristle 100 gun means maybe some lethal weapon or deadly weapons or guns were used to kill these soldiers. Then what happened on the other day? Shop fronts in Petra, landmarks of our childhood, curl like all photographs. When you say like all photographs, it's a simile. Now, when that happened in Jaffna, the next day morning, shop fronts and everything, they were set on fire. They were on fire. Right? They were all destroyed. So she says, Yasmin says that Petra was the landmark or the sign, the place where Yasmin and her Tamil friends, that means the Sinhalese and the Tamils, they lived together in Colombo, in Petra, but that is their landmark, and this landmark is curled in fire, just like an old photograph. After that it says, blood on their khaki uniforms, 3 boys lie dying. Policemen's uniforms, they had blood, and 3 boys are lying. A crowd, when 3 boys are lying dead, they are dying. And ordinary Sinhala crowd, they silently look the other way. They are not trying to take these dying boys to a hospital, and they are not trying to save their lives, because these ordinary Sinhala people, although they were not directly involved in this insurgency or in this unkind, brutal actions, they still had a feeling, because Sinhala soldiers were killed yesterday, on the 22nd of July. Because of that, they had a feeling, so they were just ignoring the dying boys. That is what Yasmin is talking about here. Near wheels of his smashed bicycle at the corner of the duplication road, a child lies dead. So what I feel is the corner of the duplication road is near Liberty Plaza, the place where duplication road starts. And what happens there? His bicycle is smashed. He's a Tamil boy, so his bicycle smashed and he's dying. And two policemen, they are looking the other way. They are not doing their duty. The policeman means they have to maintain law and order in a country. But here, in this point, Jasmine says that the policemen, they were looking the other way. Right? That is what happened for 5 days. The police could have done something to stop this violence, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. They did not try to stop, because they also had a kind of Sinhala feeling. Because of that, they were not directly involved. They did not take the leadership in the destruction of the Tamils, but they quietly ignored the situation. They did not try to prevent the situation to a greater part, to a greater extent. I think they did not try to stop this. And two policemen looked the other way as a stout man sweating with fear. Two policemen looked the other way when a stout man, a fat Tamil gentleman, he's been hit. He's sweating with fear. He's frightened because he knows the next moment he's going to be killed. That he knows that this is going to be the end of his life, which he values much. Right? Falls to his knees. He's falling on his knees in front of the mob who has come with sticks and stones and clubs. They are going, maybe knives and swords also. This man is going to be killed, and he's not going to die at once in a minute, but he's going to die slowly, bearing all the pain he has to die. So he's falling on his knees and he is begging for his life. Then beneath a bow tree, and Yasmin says it happens, the stout gentleman, stout man with fear, he is falling onto his knees beneath the bow tree. Now why does Yasmin Gururatnam brings bow tree here? She brings bow tree here because this is a Buddhist, mainly a Buddhist country. Bow tree is a place where Lord Buddha gained his enlightenment. That is the significance of bow tree. So that's why she is bringing the bow tree. And under a bow tree, Lord Buddha has preached to forgive the enemy. He had said, "Vaire no sansinde," but still, Jasmine Gururatnam brings that to show the unkind brutality released on the minority Tamil group. Beneath the bow tree, in a shower of sticks and stones flung by his neighbor's hands. Neighbor's hands means majority Sinhala mob. Flung means to throw at the stout man. The joys of childhood, friendships of our youth, ravaged by parties and politics. Right. When we were children, we had a lot of joy. During our youth, we had a great friendship. That is a friendship between the Tamils and the Sinhalese. And this was all destroyed by, or it was brought to a position where there is disunity. by the pieties and the politics. Pieties means these people who indulged in racialism, or the people who started this inhuman, unkind, cruel violence on the minority Tamils and continued this genocide act. And the politicians were the ones who were mainly responsible. Mainly responsible people were the politicians, because they were the ones who initiated and introduced Sinhala-only policy in 1956. So finally what happens, Yasmin Gurland concludes her poem saying, screaming across our screens her agony. Her means Mother Lanka's agony. Mother Lanka is paralyzed for 5 days, just like we felt the paralysis when we faced this curfew for so many days during this corona pandemic. Just like that, her agony means Mother Lanka's agony is spread throughout the country. At last, Mother Lanka's agony is exposed. Yasmin Gurratna finally says in the last few words, Sri Lanka burns alive. So that shows the kind of suffering and the pain Mother Lanka was facing during these few days during this 1983 July violence. So this is what Yasmin Gurratna says when she says big match 1983. It's not a cricket match, right? Even in cricket matches there is a sort of slight or a trivial violence taking place, and this big match between these two communities, major communities in our country, is major violence. So that is what I want to explain and discuss with you. And thanks for being with me and listening to me. We'll meet again in our next session. Thank you, and may God bless you.